In an exclusive BBC interview, Professor Severino Antinori claims it's just a matter of time before the cloning of people becomes a reality, and he wants it to be legalised in strictly limited circumstances.
Severino Antinori achieved worldwide notoriety 4 years ago when he used in vitro fertilisation to help a 62-year-old woman become the oldest to have a baby. Now he says he'd be prepared to make a genetic carbon copy of a living person, a human clone, in this case to help an infertile couple have a child.
I think cloning is a good idea in certain situations. When a man has no sperm cells, it could help him have a child. I am collaborating with colleagues outside Italy who are carrying out animal experiments. This sort of research is banned here, but there is no doubt cloning will be a reality within a few years.
Just outside Edinburgh is the home of Dolly the sheep, the first mammal to be cloned, by taking the DNA from a single adult cell and injecting it into an egg. Animal cloning is being done to produce drugs to fight cancer and haemophilia. The scientists there are opposed to human cloning and say the whole process is inefficient and unsafe.
We used 277 reconstructed eggs to produce one successful pregnancy. That's collecting eggs from perhaps 40 donor ewes. And unsafe because a good proportion of our pregnancies fail late in pregnancy, and we have had lambs which die soon after birth.
Professor Antinori says the technique for cloning will one day be perfected. Ethical experts in Rome, as elsewhere, believe it's immoral to try to predetermine the behaviour of an individual, but point out in any case that would fail.
Even from the practical point of view, fortunately, you cannot establish what a person will be in the future. You can maybe clone a cell of Mother Teresa and give birth to a serial killer.
30 years ago, society was shocked by the idea of organ transplants. 20 years ago, by test tube babies. Now they're both commonplace. Perhaps human cloning is different and will remain ethically unacceptable, even if it's to help infertile couples. Despite that, sooner or later, a scientist somewhere is probably going to achieve it. Fergus Walsh, BBC News, Rome.
And I'm joined now from Manchester by Dr. John Harris, Professor of Social Ethics at Manchester University. Professor Harris, in terms of the science, how close do you think we are to the reality of a human clone?
Well, we're not there yet. It's at the moment unsafe, but it soon will become safe. When I say soon, probably between 3 to 5 years. So we will undoubtedly see human cloning, I believe, within the next 5 years.
You think that's going to happen despite any social qualms, or ethical qualms rather, there may be about it?
Well, that is a separate issue. I myself don't have any substantial ethical qualms about it once it has been demonstrated to be safe. But at the moment there is a virtual worldwide moratorium on human cloning, and that is likely to remain in place for the foreseeable future.
And what do you think are the ethical issues that need to be taken into account? Because although you say you don't see any problem with it, there certainly will be some people who do.
Well, there are many issues. I think people have to understand that cloning is a very familiar thing in the human world. All identical twins are clones, and that is about 3 per 1,000 pregnancies involve identical twins. In the UK, there are about 200,000 sets of identical twins. So we're very familiar with the idea of duplicated genotypes. And this is really just an extension of that. And I don't see in principle why we should be any more worried about artificially creating these duplicated genotypes than we do when it occurs naturally.
Why should we want to do it, though?
Well, some people will want to do it out of vanity, and they will certainly be deluded. There is no way that this technology will allow people to reproduce themselves or anybody that they admire. But as Professor Antinori said in your interview, there are many reasons for assisting people with infertility. Those who want genetically related children may be able to use this technology to achieve that aim, and it seems to me perfectly reasonable that they should be permitted to do so.